Kendo Podcast episode 167. In this episode, I want to talk about valid cut Yuko Datotsu. Kendo Podcast by Hiro Mafuji from Kendo-Guide.com. Thank you for listening. This podcast is about Japanese martial arts Kendo for Kendo lovers and supported by Kendo enthusiasts through Patreon.com. Thank you for your support, guys. Please visit Kendo-Guide.com for more Kendo information and how to support Kendo-Guide.com. Welcome to Kendo Podcast episode 167. Now, I don't really think that I have ever talked about Yuko Datotsu. That is very important thing to know. Even if you are just thinking about starting Kendo. So I don't have the new version of regulation book at the moment, but I don't think it's different very much from the older one. So I want to read it from kendoworld.com website. It is section 2, article 12. Yuko Datotsu is defined as the accurate striking or thrusting made onto Datotsu buoy, designated target, of the opponent's kendogu with shinai at its Datotsu blade in high spirits and correct posture, being followed by zanshin. Okay, that is from the regulation of Kendo Shiai, the subsidiary rules of Kendo Shiai and Shimpan, revised March 23rd, 2003, International Kendo Federation. So, okay, now if you have studied Kendo a little bit, you probably heard about Kiken Ichi, and no such word in this article 12, in this definition of Yuko Datotsu. But, of course, it's there if you read carefully. Ki is high spirits, right? A lot of ki and energy. And Tai is correct posture, right? And Ken is you have to use the, which, shinai. Hang on a minute. Datotsu, you have to strike, you're striking or thrusting made onto Datotsu buoy of the opponent's kendo with shinai at its Datotsu bu. Datotsu bu is blade. And in this case, Morouchi, here it doesn't say Morouchi, it says Datotsu bu, but basically what that means is Datotsu Monouchi. Okay, I am going to look at the new version, new modified, revised version of Kendo regulations, but I'm sure it's pretty much the same again. And so I think it's very important for all of us, including beginners, what we are looking for in our strikes or thrusts. So in that point of view, Bokuto ni yoru kendo, Kihon waza keiko ho, I think it's right, I'm just saying it off the top of my head, is very effective learning method for many Kendo practitioners. I still think kata is also effective if you really, think about it, but I found that as long as when they use bokuto, even in kendo kihonho, they do some kata movement. I found it very, very interesting. They don't do kendo movement with bokuto; they do a kata movement. I mean, my students learn kata from the very beginning, so. That's normal for them. So that was very interesting. So, now we OUS, Kendo Federation, they are going to require OUS, not OUS, Bokuto Kihonho for Q grading in 2020, from 2020. So we started practicing it, but anyway, so this I am going to make a video as well, because this is very important for my students to know. And a lot of people don't really know what valid cut is. And I think they know, but they know in their head, okay, this should be the valid cut. But, they don't really know as clearly, maybe their concept is very vague. Probably that's one of the problems they cannot improve Kendo from beyond a certain level. I don't know, I have to come up with some definition for myself why people cannot improve beyond certain level, and that gives me more to create more training methods. So if we think about it, you have to know accurate striking, what that means, accurate striking and accurate thrusting made onto Datotsu buoy. That's a target, right? Target men, kote, do, tsuki. We have migi men, right man, middle man, and left man. And kote has, kote is not, fist is not kote. Kote is the wrist and above. Those that protected by tsutsu. And do, right hand, right do, left do. And kote, at certain, under certain circumstance, you can strike kote, left kote as well. But those, you have to strike on this Datotsu buoy designated target with your shinai at its Datotsu buoy, certain place, certain part of your shinai, right? Okay, now that is, and then you have to know which way is the blade, so you can hit these targets with the side of the sword, right? And also you have to have high spirits. What is high spirits? You have to be loud, you have to be full of energy, and you cannot just go kote, man, like that, right? Man, kote, right? You have to claim that you got it. And I think I haven't shown this video to the public yet, but it will be. Maybe by the time this goes to the public, this podcast goes to the public, maybe I can send you a link. Okay, but anyway, and what's correct posture? What's correct posture in Kendo? You gotta know that. And being followed by zanshin. What the zanshin is, you have to know that. The Kendo-Guide, not Kendo-Guide, Kendo World defined as state of mental and physical alertness. That's what zanshin is. I'm not sure if that's Kendo World's translation or interpretation, or that is in the regulation. I have to find out, but I'm going to do it later. And so you have to know this is what we want in Kendo. That's why we have to practice like this, like that, like this. So I think it's very important for especially adult students. And then we don't have much time. If you don't have much time to practice, you just have to go through these again. I really have to make a movie about it, and so probably I'm going to talk about it tomorrow at training, keiko. But anyway, so you really have to know what these are, and quickly let's go through. So accurate is, you have to cut, you have to strike a target with a certain with a certain part of your shinai, right? And certain part includes the direction of your shinai. So you cannot strike these targets with the side of your shinai or back of your shinai, blade side of your shinai, okay? And then you have to be loud, high spirits, and correct posture. You know, you cannot be, you cannot bend your, correct posture is basically good posture. We always, shizentai, we always go over it, and I'm going to have a link under this podcast, so please go through that. And correct posture, and followed by zanshin. Zanshin is it says, as it says in the Kendo world, mental and physical alertness. So mentally you have to be alert, you have to be ready, because you have an opponent. You can't just walk out, you can't just show your back to your opponent after you strike. So you have to turn around, or you have to look at your opponents. Don't look away from your opponent. If you had to look away, you have to go back to your opponent. You have to look at your opponent right back after you strike. That's zanshin, and take your stance if it's possible. So if you cannot take zanshin with your chudan, for example, you have to be alert mentally. You can't just you just can't relax after your strike. You have to be alert, you have to be ready, you have to keep an eye on your opponent, right? So that is all elements of your valid cut. Now, if you do this, you strike correct, designated targets. That's we need to strike protected area. Otherwise, we won't have our training partners, right? If you hit non-protected area all the time, your opponent, your training partner will go, you strike, I just keep getting hurt. I'm not going to train with you. So, okay, no, that's one thing. And also, by doing that, we agree upon we don't strike untargeted area. So we purely practice kendo hitting those protected area. Okay, so that is a rule, because we're not killing each other. All right, okay, and now we have to have good Datotsu bui. We have to strike with Datotsu bui of the shinai. So this is where the katana part is coming in. So this is the idea of the katana, right? We have certain part of the katana, the sharpest, we use to cut through. So that is that. All right, and we have to have high spirits. Not like you cannot cut things. If you imagine you have to cut a person right in front of you, you have to go through the bones, right, as well. Now, so you really need high spirits, and also you to encourage or to be brave going against the person. You need high spirits. So that's the that's the theory behind high spirits. Okay, and correct posture. We don't like just hitting each other however we want. We want to get in and strike, squarely. Fight nice, what you call fair and square. You get a strike. That is a basic idea of kendo. You get in. Okay, I am going to strike you. All right, fair and square, and strike. None of those sneaky things. Okay, that's why correct posture. If you want to be sneaky, like just hitting kote with hands, it's not correct posture. You're just stretching your arms and then leaving your body behind. That's not good, right? So that is STEMI. It doesn't say STEMI, but correct posture, going a nice and straight posture before and during. After that means stemming. You throw yourself at your opponent, all right, without knowing what the consequence will be. So that is their correct posture, and followed by zanshin. You just make sure you're not gonna get hit after you strike, or just keep an eye, be alert, be ready after you strike as well. It's not the end of your kendo. Okay, so zanshin followed by zanshin. You come back to the previous point, the mindset that I'm ready to fight. So that is very important part of a valid cut. All right, so I think it's very, if we had a sword, would it be valid? Would it be fatal? Would your opponent go, okay, you got it, okay, let's not fight? So that is, I think, personally think, valid points or valid cut. That's why they came up with this definition. Now, so if you think about it, your kendo practice has a direction. You have to pay attention to the direction of the sword, and how you strike matters, because you have to give a fatal cut to your opponent. That's the basic idea. Okay, so you have to deliver the strength, deliver all the energy you have mentally and physically into this one strike, and then execute it. So you are, and of course followed by zanshin, and every single elements of this definition of Yugo Datotsu should be there, because that will, I think, maximize the result of your strike. So that's why they came up with a definition. So accordingly, we have to study kendo, and we have to practice kendo. If you're an adult, this is more true to you, of course to me, and otherwise, we lose the fundamental of kendo, the principle of the katana. So yeah, that's why its definition is there. So I think we have to go through, if I know if you do kendo long enough, this, but rethink it, and if you share it, if you share your knowledge and technique with your junior students, maybe you can start from definition of Yugo Datotsu, so they can get the idea more easily or more clearly. Okay, thank you for listening, and if you like the podcast, please share with your kendo mates, and and if that may be helpful to them, and I'll be happy too. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast. I would like to send special thanks to patrons for their constant support through patreons.com/Kendo For Life.